It's Grace Redman, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. And today's guest holds a very special place in my heart. Melissa Minnich is my incredible guest today, and Melissa is a respected international speaker, humanitarian, spiritual thought leader, and author. Her work delves deep into the synergies between cutting edge science and time honored spiritual practices. Drawing from her vast knowledge and experience in quantum physics, energy healing, Vedic science, and spiritual psychology, she has created a unique pathway for individuals seeking enlightenment, healing, and empowerment. Melissa's groundbreaking work is epitomized in her book High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss, and the widely acclaimed Quantum Miracles docuseries. These platforms not only explore the intersection of science and spirituality, but also have catalyzed a global awakening touching over a million lives. Please help me welcome Melissa to the show today.
Mm, Thank you so much, Grace. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, you have no idea what an honor it is to celebrate you today because when I first started in the industry 10 years ago, your summit was one of the first summits I won. You were open to have me on your summit, and I will never forget that. So thank you so
Mm.
much.
And I'm so glad we've been able to, see each other rise. And that's what it's all about, right? So,
Yes.
it's been beautiful to watch your transformation and see where the world is taking it. So I'm glad to be back here with you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I know our conversation is going to be super fun because you speak my language. I love, talking about, quantum miracles, and I'm excited to talk about your book, but I love the title, High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss.
Mhm.
How'd you come up with that title? I love it.
Ah, Okay. Well, so you want
I
the story, right?
do. I love
Okay.
the story.
Well, yeah. So the most people now know part of my story, but this is a new audience. And so I was an international drug trafficker in my early 20s, and I was high on drugs a lot. I overdosed two of my friends in my house. And when that happened, they died on my living room floor. They were able to eventually they survived after being revived a couple of times, but that day have changed my life. And so I started going through the journey of like trying to figure out how to heal my stuff, like getting out of those things. But it was, never um, in the journey of like, I'm going to do doing these other things. I was just trying to heal my own trauma. I had so much trauma, which is obviously what had sent me into this deep space that I was in. And then fast forward years later after being homeless and all of these things happening, I started my business. I started healing. I started helping others. And I started that in 2010. And then in 2012, I had another one of those moments in my life where everything just fell apart.
Mhm.
I called 2021 my year of death. I had had an initiation in Egypt, and the year that followed, seven people passed away. I also, on top of those seven people, including a couple of family members passing away and a student committing suicide, I also lost my best friend. I lost my lover. I lost my home. I shut down my business and I left the country because I was at a wit's end to where I was going. And at this point, 12 years into the work that I had been doing, I was doing really good, right? I thought I had a super successful business, thousands of lives transformed, spoke on stages all over the world, all of these things that were happening. The docu series, right? Reached a million people,
Yep.
all this stuff. So on paper, my life looked really freaking great, but there was a lot of things within me that just kept surfacing. There was pieces of stuff, and although I was a better place than I'd ever been, that year of death rocked me to the core. So there was a moment in June of 2021 where I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I'm out. Like, why am I on this planet? Why am I here doing all of this and work and helping these people? And I don't want to do it anymore. And in that moment, it was the first time in 20 years that I'd felt like I was like, I want to check out. I was never going to commit suicide at this point in my life, but that's how I felt. And I remember that feeling from before. And so I did. I was like, I'm done, everything gone. And I took over a year off of my life from July of 22 2022 to July of 2023. And I swore I wasn't going to work. I was going to renew all of my rituals and my practices, find new things, figure out what was going on. And literally in that year, I rewired my system and did so many things in such a way, combining some of my old practices, finding new things that literally left me high on life. Like I came back to my friends and they're like, "What are you on?" And I was like,
I
"I'm not
love
on
it.
yeah, I'm not on anything. I'm literally high on life." I had literally stepped into bliss consciousness in such a level. I had touched it before. I could stay in it before for a couple of days or even sometimes a week, or, I knew what it felt like, but it was integrated into my somatics and my body and the way that I walked and I lived. And I was living in this state that nothing was touching me. Like I still would have ups and downs. Like I could still feel anger. I could still cry. I could still be happy. But there was this underlying experience that happened and I was high on life. And so
Mhm.
when I talk about a high on life, a prescription for bliss, it's a prescription because I say you are the medicine instead of plant medicine, instead of the pills that we're told to take, instead of the glass, the a wine that we're drinking at night, or scrolling through social media, all the things that we're doing to escape, numb out, get high, get the like, the click, whatever. Instead of those things, right? You are the medicine, and this is your prescription to get into bliss consciousness, how to get into these higher states by learning things that you can embody within yourself that we're going to take you there.
Oh my gosh, I just wanna stay here with you. Yes. All of that. Oh, girl.
Mm.
Oh, girl, yes. Well, the world would be, such a better place if we all got into that bliss consciousness.
Hmm. Yeah.
So and I wanna come back to all of this, but it was so powerful, everything that you just shared, because I feel like our society is falling into that dark place where we are so attached to the addictions, to the distractions, the again, I'm not judging anyone, but the glass of wine, the pills, the social media, the
Right.
news, and it's taking us away from that bliss.
Yeah.
And I love how you use the word bliss because, I make an effort to stay in that consciousness, but sometimes it's challenging because of everything that's going around. And I get the contrast. And I told my friend one day, I'm like, girl, I went from the abyss to bliss. And the bliss
Hmm.
was when I ended up by myself, walking the dog in the park, away from the chaos.
Hmm. Hmm.
And uh, we need to shout, you need to shout this from the rooftops.
Yeah. Because there is a way to stay in that experience amidst the chaos, right? So in the past, ancient wisdom, people went to the mountains and they were monks, or they hid away and spent all of their time learning how these processes, learning these things to, to us to ascend or get enlightened or whatever you want to call that thing, right? Or to live into this higher state. But now it is, we are the lighthouses in the dark. We are meant to learn, how do I stay within this place of inner peace, right, within myself, walking into the reality of the world that I'm in. And what it is, this, when you're in this state, it's not that the things around you, all those, the synchronicities of how quantum reality in the world works, is that the mirroring effect, things do change around you, but not everything, because you're co-creating the world. So what it is instead your perceptions about how you see the world and you view it will happen. Let me give you a very personal example about something that just recently happened this last week, that is going to be the first time I share, that will explain what I mean by this. So my mother is in the hospital because she tried to commit suicide.
Mm.
And when people were reaching out to me that knew exactly what was going on, they're like, "How do you feel? Are you okay?" Like, are I've worked with suicide victims, like something that I'm very passionate about. This is something that's very deep into my at my core. And I almost felt guilty messaging them back and saying, "Yeah, I'm fine." And they're like, but how is that possible?" I said, "Because I live in a state where I see what the soul contract was, where I can look down at our lives and understand the path of what we chose to take and the lessons that we were meant to learn, and how that has brought us to where we are right now." And so I got the benefit and the opportunity to go see my mom in the hospital with my sister, who has now been sober for a year and a half after 20 years of deep drug addiction. And we went there together, and I looked at my mom, and my mom's like, "I'm so sorry." And I said, "No, no." I said, remember a story you told me, and the story is in my book. I said, remember this story you've told me since I was a child. You said Archangel Gabriel
Mm.
came to you in a vision and showed you a baby and knew you were pregnant with me, and you knew I was a gift from the moment you knew I was pregnant, even though after that, my father tried to kill her and me so that I wouldn't be born because she wasn't allowed to get pregnant. And I was born. And I said, so you chose to come into this lifetime to take all of this trauma on so that you could birth someone into the world that has now helped thousands and thousands of people. And I said, so you have to understand your role in this life and the amazing soul and human that you are, that you chose to do this and to take on this crap and this trauma, because that crap and that trauma that I went through is what led me to be the person that I am today. If I hadn't had those things, I would not be doing the work I am now. And I said,
Oh,
and you know, I'm going to help you. You know, I'm here to show you how to do that. Reach out to me. And she looked at me and her eyes got wide and we locked our eyes for probably 5 minutes. And I just hugged her and put my hands on her heart and started doing quantum healing on her. And I knew at that moment that everything had shifted. I knew
oh,
that she finally could see and understand for a moment what it was, right? And that's what I say. My perception about how the world is has changed to such a degree that because I live in this state, I can have something as traumatic as that going on in my life and not discount it. You know, I'm not like numb to it. I just understand and feel it in a different way.
mm, that's so beautiful. And it's true because you like you said, you have the perspective, you understand that it's unfolding the way it's meant for the greater good, for the healing. And that moment, just you sharing that moment with your mom where you said you locked eyes for 5 minutes, like, I felt that shift as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
How powerful. And how often do we really look at people like that so deeply? And so
Mhm.
I can just like your mother like, your mother being seen by you, like, that was so powerful.
Mhm. Yeah, because I saw her in all her beauty and all her glory and none of her trauma, you know, like, I could just see everything that she was and the amazing, you know, entity soul that she was, that she came on she took this on in this life so that, you know, so that there could be something greater. That to me is the greatest sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
And how many of us have trauma from our childhood, right? You know, things
All
that
of
we've
us.
gone through, all of the crap, all the inner child work that we have to do, and these souls, these people, these experiences, these events were actually there to help us to become our greatest selves. And sometimes we do, and then sometimes we haven't figured out the tools yet to make that happen.
Yes, and I've learned, you know, 'cause I do have some people in my life who I love so dearly, and I would love for them to get into recovery, or I would love for them to use the tools, and I understand, like, they may not, and I love them anyway, and I am like, "Okay, well, they are, you know, a teacher for whoever in the family needs to learn whatever lesson is coming from them."
Yep. Yeah.
So they might not go on that path that we want them to.
Hmm.
Something that you've talked about is 2025 being a pivotal year for humanity. Can you speak on that for us?
Oh, haven't felt it yet. Right? Oh my goodness. So right, well, right now we're in the middle of what you stock market crashing, thing, you know, financials, tariffs happening, you know, uh videos coming out about what's going on in the underneath the pyramids in Egypt, like, you know, you name it, all of the things are happening right now. So I call 2025 the quantum year. And
Mm,
so when you think of quantum, right, when we're thinking quantum, quantum is infinite possibility, infinite reality. It is the energy that exists where everything can be created and you can create quantum leaps in your life if you know how to harness the energy. But it's what is called a collective 9 year, which means that it is a year of it's the year of nine, the snake, the ending, right? So you're shedding everything, you're getting rid of the old parts of who you are. It is all of these pieces of like finally letting go of the thing. And so part of what I talk about with the 2025 is one of the things that's happening is this death, this shedding. I call it the revolution, right? So we're
mm,
having a revolution, both you know, like global civil war, you know, some different things happening. I like an actual revolution, but there's also revolution of the way that our governments, our financial systems, technology, the way that we see the world, our food systems, right? A lot of people are revolting against the old norms, the societal standards, the way that we were told that things had to be, that we've been stuck in. and they're saying, "No more. I'm done."
Yeah.
Right? I'm done. And that's actually why one of the things that called me into writing this book, not even understanding because I hadn't tapped into 2025 yet, but now I know why it comes out when it does and everything because I'm talking about the mental health issues, this way the society is stuck in escapism, getting high, like all of these things because and then the crux of like after COVID happened and all of these things that people started to see, oh my gosh, I can work from home. I can live a purpose. I can do this. I'm done with the other way. Like I don't want sick care anymore. I want well care, right? Like, all of these types of things. And so there's a billion people waking up, right? This is like, but when something wakes up, when we're remembering who we are, we go first through the dark night of the soul. We go through the deepest, darkest stuff that we can. And, and right before the crux, right before that finish line is when it gets darkest. And then you pop over and then that's when you have that breakthrough and you come up into the light. Well, if a billion people are going through this process, then that means there's a billion dark nights of the soul. So a lot of hell, a lot of challenge, a lot of pain going on. But there's you
Mhm.
got to hold on for that breakthrough, right? For that piece of this other side coming. And so we're seeing systems crumble. We're seeing the way that the world looks and experiences things start to crumble so that a new experience can come. So that's the revolution. But we also have what I call revelation. So, right now, the energy of everything that's happening is showing that things are going to be revealed in ways that we've never experienced before. And this is going to probably, depending on your audience, seem a little out there for you. But I mark my words, if you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, just like the revelations of the things that are under the Giza pyramids, that what they're going to find. And I know that I've seen underneath the Sphinx, right? Like in when I've connected to the consciousness that I do with these retreats to Egypt with our community, not only revelations of like that. I have an archaeologist that I work with that is sending me videos of things that are being excavated from 40 and 50,000 years ago that they didn't believe were possible to have existed, that there was even a humanity that could have done that at that time, right? I've seen the video, right? So the whole way that we know what we know about humanity and the human beings and what we thought to be true, the revelations are coming for that. And then on top of it, we are getting connected. There's a company called Skywatchers, and these guys were military guys that used to go and pick up unidentified flying objects from different parts of crash sites around the world, right? And they would catalog them, everything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now they have broken away. They're out of their contracts and they've started this organization called Skywatchers. And they're bringing out all the information about the truth that we are not alone in this universe. And I believe in this very soon, we're going to have mass amounts of people seeing entities, whatever you want to call them, extraterrestrials, galactics, aliens coming and literally being presented to us in physical form in our reality. And so that's revelation. This is 2025 energy going on right now, and it's wild.
That's why, like, I have cognitive dissonance right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me to like, I'm like, "Whoa, is that" it's hard for me to imagine. However, when I went to Mexico and I saw the pyramids in Mexico, and I was like, "Okay, how the heck were these, created?" And then they said they were created by, entities, like, I again, it's like, it's unless when I see it, I believe it, but then I have a hard
Yeah.
time, like, someone created the pyramids in Egypt and in,
Mhm.
Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah,
How are
well,
they
I
connected?
can go into the history behind how they know for a fact that the Egyptologists are very protected around their stuff, don't want the information to get out, but that there's no way that they could have been built at the way that they are, are sense, things said that they are as now. But this is going to become common knowledge. This is going to be something, Grace, 30 years from now, we're going to laugh about and be like, how could we have thought anything else? Right? Like that's how prevalent this information is going to be and the knowledge of what is coming for us. Yeah.
And you're right, like, how ignorant is it of us to believe, like, we are the only people or
Right.
in this
I
universe.
say sentient beings, we're not, how is it that we could be the only sentient beings in a galaxy or, in a universe that's been around for multi-billions of years, right?
I mean, yeah, so I'm looking I'm l I'm just sitting back and, staying in as much of
Yeah.
my bliss consciousness as possible as things unfold. And I know they'll pass. And also part of me is excited to be, alive during this time in history. Like this is,
This is the
crazy.
greatest show in the universe. Everybody's watching what we're doing right now. All the souls are like this, going like,
Oh,
"What's
I
happening
know.
down there?" Right? It's like, what are we going to watch on Earth episode today? Like, think of it like this. Like when you sit in front of your TV, you're like, "I'm going to turn on this episode of whatever." I think that that's what's happening, right? Like that they're up there and they're like, "What's happening on Earth episode day?" Blah blah blah. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Right. I mean, sometimes my Mike comes home and he's like, he's sharing a story that he heard on the news or his friend shared. I'm like, you're joking. Like, that can't be real. And then I'll go like Google him, like, holy, he's not joking.
Right.
So anything's possible. And when anything's possible, it could be anything is possible in the sense also of, better days ahead, better for all of us, better for the collective. But I love what you said. We have to go through a dark night of the soul. We all have. I've been there. And I believe, as you said, we're going through a dark night of the soul as a collective.
As a
So
collective. But what happens after that is the phoenix rising, right? From the ashes, the phoenix rises. And that's what we're here for. The collective rising is coming. I only believe that it's going to get better, right? This is
yeah.
not we're going through the dark night of soul, everything's bad. No, no, no. This is a beautiful shakeup that's going to allow us all to rise together to something more beautiful.
Yes, and I'm excited for it. And for me, the game has been staying grounded and in the bliss and thriving despite the
Mhm.
chaos. So
Yes.
that's been a big, I'm playing that game with myself. Great. Like Grace,
Mhm.
you're saying you're gonna thrive and stay grounded and stay in that high vibration despite the insanity.
Yep. Yep.
So, and so we you talk about energy and I love that. How how does shifting our energy play a role in our healing and personal transformation?
Yeah. So I love this because I really focus on the idea of the quantum field, the unified field. What I call it the God field. That's my term for this field of information that all comes right. So we have this source, right? Whatever you want to call your source, whether you call that God, universe,
God is
right? Like I believe it. I believe it is all one and the same, right? It is a beautiful, devotional, unconditional love source that is the energy that is an omnipresent energy also, right? So it becomes this energy that we are all a part of and can tap into. And so that is energy in itself. And I call this energy the frequency of love. So my book is also a love story. It is a love story about something that happened in my life that started with the drug trafficking that culminated in the healing 22 years later with my partner from that previous time. It's a love story, but it's also the love story of coming to love within myself and finding the frequency of love, which is that's when you tap into that frequency of love, is when you get to stay in that bliss consciousness. So it's all about energy, but it's we as humans have been taught such a finite way to use our energy systems. We're feeding off of food, we're feeding off a finite system, exercise, food, all of these things inside of our own bodies. And we haven't actually learned how to use our toroidal field, our energy fields, the energy centers in our bodies, which are called chakras, right? They're very real. Like all of these pieces, we have a central column that runs through our system that goes all the way down into Mother Gaia, into the earth, and all the ways connects us all the way up through source. Yet we are living in a finite system where instead of being connected into that, our trauma, our distortions, all of the pieces of that have created pockets in our energy field. So they say, they can actually test someone's energy field and know that they'll have cancer before that shows up in their body because it's in their field, right?
Oh,
It's in the field around them. Our hearts generate a field of energy, right? So that for somebody that can be anywhere from 3 to 5 feet, but when someone that is living in this state, they can actually step off of a plane into a new city and affect the entire city with the energy of who they are because their heart fields are so big, right? I've
oh,
done I've done audiences of up to 2,000 where I've been able when walk into a space and seen a room shift. I like to play with it when we go to bars with my friends.
I
I'll be
love
like,
that.
well, I don't drink or anything, but I still love to go hang out with my friends, and I'll be like, "Watch what happens," right? And I'll go and I'll go in and walk in and send this energy, and the room will just kind of quiet down for a little bit and get, and people will start talking quieter to each other. Things like they don't know they don't understand what's happening, but that's our energy. So we all have this, and this is very much. I'm a quantum physicist, right? Like I studied quantum physics, so I love to talk about this in the realm, but this is real stuff. This is real,
It
and
is.
so we're tapping into this energy field, but to be able to completely use this energy in a really powerful way and build what is called our pillar of light, this light that we are, we have to heal all of these distortions in our field. So there's energy practices that you can do. There's word spoken practices. There's somatic movement practices, right? There's all these different ways that you can to work with that because the ancient traditions and everything we hear says, "I am what? I am light." I
Yes.
enlightenment. What does that all mean? Well, our pineal glands are have light receptors. Our DNA has light receptors. Our cells produce UV light. We literally are light, but our light has been dimmed because of the non-interaction of our energy field. So we can enlightenment is literally bringing ourselves back to the light of our body and that call, that light body, and re-engaging our pillar of light so that we're connected to both Mother Gaia and source, as above, so below, as within, so without, right?
Mm.
The energy of all of that together. And it doesn't matter what religion you are, you will see as above, so below. I'm reading the Kabbalah right now, right? And it's saying as above, so below, right? It comes down from the Essenes also. I've read it through there, the Egyptian mysteries, the Bhagavad Gita. I'm getting a PhD working in Vedic science right now. All of them, they're all saying the same thing. And it's just about this energy that we need to connect into.
I love that. And like you said, they're all saying the same thing. It's the heart energy. And, when I wake up in the morning, I ask God, please allow my heart, the love from my heart to radiate out. And I loved how you said you play it as a game when you walk in the bar because it is true. The heart energy is so powerful.
Yeah, our heart is 5,000 times magnetically stronger and 100 times electrically stronger than our brains.
And so if we can get well, it's happening like you said, like everything's falling apart to come back together to get us back to that heart center, that heart space.
Mhm.
I'm excited for what's ahead.
Me too.
That we're kind of talking about it, we've tapped into that energy space, and, I call the energy God as well, and I know, like, we could call it universe or source or whatever you choose to call it, but I feel it right now, like, I feel that God energy, and it's so powerful, and, I have some friends are like, "Please don't talk to me, about God. How is there a God?" However,
Mhm.
this is all happening to bring everything to a new order.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? So it's
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
in all
yeah.
the books, I'm not religious, but, I'm aware of all the books and the stories are similar. I really feel that we're living out the stories right now.
Yes, we are. Yeah. Yeah, it's the big culmination point. We're getting to walk into the experiences to see how will we rise, how will we use and learn the tools and use the things that are going to allow. And what I say is like a lot of people talk about awakening, right? Like awakening, and I say we're not awakening, we're remembering because that is the I am of who I already am. I am already that. I am remembering that that is what I am. That I
Yeah.
am, this spark, this piece of that source, and then I get to have this experience. I get to remember all of these things. And so it's a remembering, not an awakening. There's a lot of people talk about I've been there, being asleep and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, we came into this life and forgot so that we could remember, but that doesn't mean we were asleep and then we have to wake up, like we're already that. It's like, how do I uncover the parts of me that allow me to remember the core of what's already in me? That's it. That's the whole message is you are the medicine. You are already that. So find out
Yes.
how to get to it, right?
Yes, all of it, like, and anyone that I connect with in our industry, the message is always the same, and it's just
Mhm,
spoken in different ways, but underneath it is you gotta reconnect to yourself and to that
mhm,
power that's greater than us, period, the end. If it comes through setting boundaries, if it comes through your morning, whatever it is, everything we talk we're all messengers.
mhm. Yep.
And so, for those who are listening right now and they're feeling like that heaviness and they're stuck and they're, tired and they're in their hustle and they're in their mind, what is one thing that they can do today to help move them from, kind of that heavy feeling into that bliss?
Yeah. Well, I think the first stop, the first state I always say is you're never going to go from that state to bliss. You're going to go from that state to neutral, right? Peace.
Mhm.
This baseline, right? Like that. And the number one thing from all of working with people and things, and the very first bliss, it's called a bliss RX, the bliss prescription in my book is about breath. And I think, this is like what breath is spirit, right? You your first and last breath, right? Everything is that. And yet people don't actually breathe. They're like, like how many people they're like, I always feel like I'm like this. And when they learn how to breathe and like they drop, everything drop, they're like, oh, it's the first time I felt like I can breathe in my life. And so this is just the plain and simple truth of it is when you are in your present moment and you are doing that breath, you can't be in the past worrying about or going over something that happened. You can't be in the future worrying about what's going to happen or what's in the bank account or what's happening here. The only thing you can do is that. And so when you start with that, then you can build and the processes build from that piece. But I like a simple shamanic breath and it's really simple to understand and I like to do it at breathing in, so it's a breath in for 5, so breathing in for 5, 1 2 3 4 5, a hold, just hold for 5, allow the system to reset, 2 1, and then breathe out for 5 4 3 2 1. Do that 10 times, breathing
Mm,
in 5. It's the key is the pause. It's the 5-second, count hold, right? Because what's in the hold, it's the
mm,
space in between. It's the gap. It's the void. It's where you get into the energy of the field. That's in the gap. When you're moving around, all this stuff going on in your head's going this way and that or whatever, you're not connecting in. But it's in the pause. And most people are like, I can't meditate. I can't do this. I can't do that right when that stressed out state. But you can pause for 5 and you do that repeated for a 10 count and you will notice a shift in your system and then you can layer on I say do that every day. It takes 2 minutes, right? Like this is how simple this stuff can be. If you can't take 2 minutes for yourself to start, and then work your way up, then take 2 minutes to take that and see what happens, and I guarantee you do that every day for 7 days.
how
Right?
to do that?
And then after that, you can add on the next piece, which is in the next chapter. It's like super simple, but this is like that thing of like just a simple 5 5 5 breath. It will literally change the way that you experience the world because you're stepping into that frequency of the pause. Because once you're able to notice that, then we can start to expand on playing with that energy and opening the heart field and the energy and then connecting it to the pineal gland and aligning your system and your somatic and the body and all those things. So,
The pause. Kabbalah talks about the pause.
mm.
And so that's why when you said the pause, it reminded me, of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so much power in the pause. We can't afford not to pause.
No, we can't. And there's and a key, like, so one of my favorite people that I've ever interviewed was Neil Donald Walsh. And he talks about there's one of the things that he does is he will be like eating, drinking a this, and he'll just and he just takes a 10-second pause and then he goes on like nothing happened, right? Like just the pause, right? There's such a power in that. But I like to work with the breath and tell people getting deep into the belly, deep into that stuff, because one of the things is that once you start to allow your system, because one of the things our nervous systems aren't regulated, right? Our nervous systems are whacked out from all of the scrolling on our social media,
Totally.
going like this, who's gonna like me, talking on the phone, right, driving around, like our nervous systems are shot. So the breath starts to align your nervous system. Yeah. So if anybody decides to get the book, it's on page 28. You can find this
Well,
simple.
show us the book. You just grabbed it. I don't have my copy yet, but show us. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
No.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Bomb cover.
Thank you. That so yeah, I got lucky enough that one of my own dear friends who's an amazing photographer had happened. I did a photo shoot with him and he took this picture And when I was working with, so my book won a writing contest with Hay House. I got first runner up in a Hay House writing contest in October of 2023 to have my book published. So when they were asking me about the book cover, and they're like, "Do you have any pictures that you might want to?" So I sent them a couple, and they sent back, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that one! Can we use that one?" And I was like, "We have." They're like, "We have to get a signed, permission." My photographer was like, "Oh my god, yes, I get to be on a book."
That's
It was
so awesome.
so grateful. Like, right, it was just it's become a family and friend affair. Yeah.
I love it. What are your thoughts on manifestation?
Oh, this is a fun one. I was just actually talking with someone about that. Obviously, my quantum miracles programs are definitely about like manifesting and creating in the world. But one of the things that I've been chatting about, where I think that a lot of people are having challenges with manifesting these days, is, first we hear law of attraction, thoughts create things, right? Like all of the brain up here, the thoughts create the things, and that's how you manifest. And then you're like, and
And
the heart has a stronger electromagnetic field and a stronger electric field than the brain. So if your heart and emotions are overruling the brain, then yeah, if I think I'm going to be a millionaire, but in my heart I feel like a pauper, we're in trouble, right? I'm going to be a pauper. It's going to be here. But the piece that's also missing is the next piece is to birth something into physical reality, right? So this is a spiritual chakra. This is the spirit. This is here, thoughts, the mind. You're walking in the spirit. The heart is the bridge between the physical and the mental, or the physical and the spiritual, as above, so below. What we've forgotten as the so below, which is your physical reality. And
mm,
so in that, we have to think of behind our sacral chakra, we have a womb. We have a womb chakra, male or female. You have this area, and it is the place of where, think about it. What does a womb do? It's the void, it's the depth, right? Like if you think of the quantum field, that's what it is. It's a void, it's a depth full of energy. So we have this space where we're supposed to actually drop all of our manifestations down into that area so that it can be created and birthed into the world, into our physical reality. It is the creation through us, through that experience. And most people are missing that step. And so they're having all these challenges manifesting, creating things. That's one piece of it. The second piece is this: there is the manifestation of I want the house, I want the car, I want the surfboard. It's my ego self saying these are the things that I want to create. And then there is the surrendering to my soul blueprint and my higher self that says, I will do whatever you want to manifest through me and create through me, and see what happens there. And what I
mm.
have found to be true, once I stopped wanting myself to manifest the things that I wanted and I allowed for myself to align to that, I was given a lot more than I ever could have imagined. This book came out of that. you know,
Amen, sister.
yeah,
Amen to that. I've experienced it as well. I have a question for you. Is your life even more incredible than you could have ever imagined when you're visualizing what you desired in your kind of manifestation work?
it actually is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would have never known to this wasn't part of the map. And I know it's only going even more from here, but yeah, it really freaking is. I'm
I love
so grateful and so blessed.
Ooh, you got me emotional too.
Really. Yeah.
And
How I feel every day.
yeah, and and I cry tears of gratitude because it's true, like, when we do the work and we tap in, the better it gets, the better it gets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just yeah, thank you, like, woo, girl, that this is
Yep.
the energy, this is the heart space, I feel it,
Hmm.
and just, tapping into it is so powerful. So, again, we're human and, we're gonna fall off the bliss state. How do you get back on when you fall into, um I don't wanna call it ego, but, like, when you fall back into those negative thoughts, because 'cause we're all human, we're gonna have them. How do you get back into a bliss state?
I think the number one thing first is grace. Giving yourself some freaking grace. Don't be
Yes.
so judgmental. Don't be so hard on yourself. My gosh, all of the most successful businesses in the world, the reason they're successful is because of the failures, not because of the success. You're gonna fail. You're gonna fall off. The only key is do you get back up, even if it's the hardest thing that you ever do, right? One of my favorite poems of all time is Araya, and she says, "Are you willing to get up and feed the children?" Right? Like, are you like, that's all I can do, and that's the key. It's like you're gonna have days, you're gonna have challenges, you're gonna have shit that's not gonna go your way. You're gonna have these things that happen, and are you willing to just say, "I forgive myself"? I have grace for myself. And maybe I don't have the tool right now to do whatever, but I'm going to get back up. And then what do you do when you get up? This is my favorite thing that I've heard about science lately. They say is it takes 8 minutes. They said most people that are suicidal, depressed, can't get back up, whatever. It says it only takes 8 minutes to change everything. So you text
Mm.
a friend and you say, "Do you have 8 minutes?" Me and my friends have this we amongst us, and everyone drops unless you're in the middle somewhere you cannot drop, and you immediately do it when you can. If someone texts you and says you have 8 minutes, because you always have 8 minutes.
Yes.
You community, community, community. Don't do it alone. Have grace for yourself. Get back up. Text someone and say, "Do you have 8 minutes?" And then take one step, not 100, not trying to change my whole life. Find one
Mm.
thing that you can say, "I can do today," and commit to it.
Girl, amen to that. That's beautiful. So good. When you're in your, going through your challenges back in 2021, 2022, and you were, like on top of the world and very successful, and then things fell apart. And I was witnessing you, and I respect you because you were transparent and you shared with us. And it was, and I'm getting emotional, just incredible to witness your journey and see you rise to where you are today. It's so inspiring, and I want to share that with the audience. What was that the first step you took, just to take the pause, to have
Yep.
grace for yourself?
Yeah, the first step I was when I was on that phone call and I got this, "I don't wanna do this anymore." I said, "I gotta go right now." I hung up and I called a friend and I said, "I'm coming over."
Community.
Yep, and I went over to my friend's house and I was like, I'm d obviously I was like, I can't go on like this anymore." And it was in that moment where, and I had been at that point talking with my coaches and mentors for about 3 months about shutting down the business, because so many people had passed away and so much stuff had happened already by that point that my money was my business was bleeding money, and I was really challenged, and I didn't want to do, whatever. But I had the docu series that year was in May, and I kept just pushing. I'm going to push through and do the docu series. I'm going to push through and do the docu series, because after the docu series is always the big launch of my next thing, and I'll just push through and it'll all be okay. I did that docu series, and then when it came around for me to offer the program, I said, "I can't do it. I don't want. I can't. I can't. I'm done. I have to walk away." And it was at that moment that I decided to shut down the business, to leave my home and to move out of the country. It was all like within the 24-hour period. It was instantaneous. And then I didn't leave until, into July and those types of things. It took me a few minutes to do that, but I did. I called a friend. I went to someone's house that I knew loved me, that I was just like, "You're here for me," because I was at a point where, with all of the tools that I had, all of the things I had learned, all of the people that I had helped, all like, could do the all like,
Totally.
woo, right? All of those things. And here I was like, "Oh my God, I need help." And it wasn't the "I need help" that I'm going to call one of my healers or my coaches right now. No, it's just like, I just need to be in the arms of someone that really was going to hug me right now and tell me, "I love you."
Mm.
Yeah, and I did. I went over and crawled up on my friend's couch and, like, hung out with them that night, and, like, that was it, and she was amazing, and it was awesome, and of course, I was like, that was just that moment, and I was like, "Okay, this is the next step."
Mm.
And for me, mine was escape. Mine was burn it all down. I did it, the Phoenix Rising, right? Mine was burn it all down and walk away. Now, not everybody has a chance to burn down their whole lives and do that. I have a faith so great in the world and the universe that even though when I walked away from my business, I had $10,000 to my name after paying everyone out and doing everything that I did, and I knew I wasn't going to work, and I had enough faith in God, source, the universe, that I knew that even $10,000 and deciding to take a year off, that I would be completely fine. And was. I lived in a $3 million home in Kaish on the water. I traveled to 13 countries that year. I made, I like, you know, literally, like, and people go, how? Because it was, and I was like, because I was in surrender and flow, and money came from nowhere, and gifts, and this and that, and whatever. So that I didn't have to prove my value from bringing in money from a business. My value was so much greater than that.
Girl, yes, yes, yes. When we surrender and mic drop right there. Just right there.
Yeah.
So good, so
Mm,
good. Amen to that.
mm, yeah.
Mm. Just surrender and flow, and all comes.
Mm-hmm.
What
Sounds
again?
a lot easier than it is, though. I know.
What is that?
I said it sounds a lot easier than it is sometimes. I know. Like people hear that and they're like, really? Like, you know,
No, I believe it, and it does it does sound easier than it is, but I know that to be true, and I have fought that. So,
Mhm.
and what I'm I can't say anything else because you summed it all up. You just right there, mic dropped it all, and here you are. Continuing to rise. You have an incredible book coming out. You made it, and thank you so so much for sharing that.
Mm,
'Cause it's so inspiring, and to anyone who is watching who is, in that dark place, call a friend, pause, and surrender and trust. Melissa, you're an incredible example of all of that.
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I could stay here with you for hours. That just
Mhm.
was so amazing. Your energy is amazing. Thank you so much for all that you do for humanity. And we're looking forward to continuing to see you rise, see what's ahead, share with our audience where they can find your book
Okay.
and
Yeah.
what's next.
All right, awesome. So you can either go to my website, melissaminnick.com, and when you get the little thing there, you can get the Bliss RX toolkit, and it's going to give you a free chapter of the book and a beautiful meditation and walk you through some processes. And if you want to get the actual book, you can go to highonlifebook.com or link right through my website too. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Hay House, all those different places. Mm,
That's so exciting. And we will share all that information and where everyone can find you. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you. I appreciate you. This has been
love you.
amazing. And for those watching, please like, share, subscribe so we can continue to bring you incredible guests like Melissa, who definitely make a difference and elevate us. So thank you all for being here. Hey, love, thank you so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you. I'd like to show you my appreciation by gifting you a free forgiveness self-hypnosis audio download. Part of living the fun and fabulous life is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness can be such a long and challenging process. My intention is that this forgiveness audio will help you in practicing forgiveness, especially with yourself. Grab it by visiting daretoachieve.com/forgiveness. For more inspiring tips, make sure to connect with me on social media. Drop me a line on Facebook or Instagram at Grace Redman Dare to Achieve. Until next time, keep moving forward towards living your fabulous life.